literally just watching that last game.
That's true, but also keep in mind that today, Saving Private Checo lost 2-1 to Checo as the new black. So this is, it could be the new black has the advantage in momentum, if you will. It's so difficult for, like, I feel bad for production with these two names. Like, what are you supposed to put? They both, you can't put Checo for both.
Checo 1, Checo 2.
Yeah. Thing 1, thing 2, whatever. Zeus, that's going to be the ban for Saving Private Checo. On the other side, Nike, that's exactly what you expect to see out of the second position, banning away that Nike. Kumbhakarna being taken away.
Respect ban.
Yeah, Forger Vulcan has played that both times. We saw him in the finals. Must have had an impact in their set as well.
So Kumbhakarna is one of these niche picks where it's not necessarily going to make or break the game, but it makes it way more annoying than it actually needs to be. You have the Root, the Mesmerize, the Epic Uppercut, which sets up just so many other abilities, and the lane clear with a dash. Not to mention that potentially the Kumbhakarna could also be played in the solo lane. We haven't really seen that very often, but that is one opportunity that could be explored.
Ratatoskr, another character that can go into the solo lane or in the jungle, not like the support from Kumbhakarna, but has that flex pick opportunity for Saving Private Checo. Sylvanas, however, left open. That's going to be for Forger Vulcan in that support role. We're going to see him on a new god this time around.
You ban away the Kumbhakarna, you give up the Sylvanas. You know, you
Sylvanas and Freya.
Pick your poison is the kind of game that Saving Private Checo is flirting with. Giving up a lot of control, I would say, with the Sylvanas and a lot of late game magical damage on this Freya. Saving Private Checo needs to find a way now to either eliminate this Freya right off the bat or negate the sustain options from Sylvanas.
And Keji looked so strong on this Freya. Really interested to see how that matchup with Zaxi goes, because Transonics and Keji was very back and forth in that lane. Poseidon locked in for truancy in the middle lane, and Ymir seemed to be the Achilles heel for the new black, so you might as well try and pick it and copy what Brochacho just did. But this leaves open the fact that Kronos could get banned away here, and I was really expecting to see that picked up. You usually see that banned from Zaxi. That's his strongest character, and they're electing to go away from it here.
Well, they're not going to elect to ban the Kronos. They already have the other options as well. Soul could be potentially played. Jingwei is open. That's another option to deal with the Freya. Jingwei going to get banned right off the bat. And I like the strategy coming out of Saving Private Checo. Picking up this Ymir and Poseidon, they're really trying to lock down, I feel like, the Sylvanas.
Yes.
Freeze, Whirlpool Kraken, get him out of the teamfight right away, eliminating the sustain options.
And we saw that happen to Brochacho when he was playing that Sylvanas in the final set there between Checo as the new black and my guys. He was just abused on that Sylvanas, do that immobility. It is not going to be a Kronos ban for Checo as the new black, allowing Zaxi to have that option to pick up the character he is known for. Tyr banned away from Nickwood after a strong performance for him, and then Thor away from Reminisced, aka 13 and Blessed.
You can definitely tell the target bans from the new black and Saving Private Checo. The focus onto Zaxi, leaving the Kronos open, taking away the Jingwei and the Soul, whereas they don't want to have the solo slash jungle side too strong here. Tyr and Thor controls too much space. Now, that allows the Mercury to be locked in, which is an interesting factor because you don't have that much control compared to a Thor or Ratatoskr, but you certainly have the damage.
They've got plenty of damage on the side of the new black. They don't have to worry about damage whatsoever. Erlong Shen locked in for Saving Private Checo. That could go into the solo lane with Stormy Rays. I expect that's where it's going to be, though you could see the Erlong Shen in the jungle and Ratatoskr in the solo lane. Ullr actually going to be the selection here for Zaxi in the Hunter role. Why do you think the Ullr pick?
So the Ullr pick here against Freya, it's an early game god versus a late game fraud. You want to exploit the fact that Freya doesn't really come online until the Fatalis anyway. So this also might tempt out Forger Vulcan to stay in that duel and keeping the Freya alive for as long as humanly possible so that she can get to these team fights around the Gold Fury.
It's going to be an interesting matchup in that duo lane. Chalk locked in the solo. Shout outs to Tom F. Battinger. I know
Chalk
where
money.
he is, but he's going to be excited about that pick. Either way, into that Erlong Shen in the solo lane, at least that's what we expect. And in both drafts here, they've got plenty of damage, but a little bit more lockdown, I'd say, on the side of Saving Private Checo. You've got a lot of long-range CC coming out of Erlong Shen, into the whirlpools, into the stuns. They've got a lot of lockdown.
Absolutely, especially the wall, which will destroy Mercury's potential to get into team fights. A well-positioned and timed wall from Joltak can disrupt the ultimate, not allowing him to cut through the lane. But now Joltak positioning himself for maybe a freeze, maybe a slow, instead going to absorb a few cooldowns, and it's just going to be the rest of Saving Private Checo trying to spot out the itemization choices from Checo's New Black, along with dropping some wards.
Love the itemization choice here from 13 and Bless, going for those Talaria boots right away. It synergizes extra well with Mercury because you can get those Talaria procs from a distance with Major Look, as well as the fact that his power scales off movement speed, and there's no better movement speed in the early game than going for right away these Talaria boots.
As long as you're not in combat, you're going to be ping-ponging between the jungle buffs so quickly. You're also going to have the HP 5 to be able to sustain the damage you take from the buff camps without that Bummus Mask. Now, granted, you're going to pick up Bummus Mask anyway afterwards, but like you mentioned before, it's not a bad idea to explore this option, getting some gold to begin with, and then go for the Bumbas.
3v3 engagement here on the right-hand jungle. Both teams have some good early game pressure here with their selections. Erlong Chen Ymir very strong in the early game, whereas on the other side, Chalk and Sylvanas very, very good at these level 1 fights. Nickwood also known for his Chalk play. That definitely one of the gods that he plays a lot of. A couple emotes back and forth. Everyone's on the same page. As far we're all friends here, but this is not going to be a friendly matchup, I don't think. This is a game to determine who's going on to relegations.
Both soul laners do have the Wrath, and they're just flirting with danger. This is not a bad idea for Saving Private Checo because they wait out long enough to the point where the waves have met, so you don't want to miss out on any melee minutes worth of experience or gold. Finally, though, the rotations from the mids have started to make its way towards the right side.
Neither buff has been finished off. It looks like you see Mr. Teep there just thinking about doing that speed buff or starting it up, but like you mentioned, the overwhelmingly stronger wave clear for Checo as a New Black is going to make sure, Saving Private Checo secures that speed buff for themselves. That now it's going to be Forger Vulcan dashed onto by Joey Donuts. They're looking for a little bit of extra damage, but he put himself in a bad spot, forced to use the purification because of that special delivery. Shell popped there from Saving Private Checo, still looking for the chase. The two-man route, Truancy, he's going to fall. First blood goes the way of Checo as the New Black.
Just too out of position there. His purification was used earlier on, so he wasn't able to escape that Scylla route. So granted, it was Saving Private Checo that found this speed buff earlier on, but they sacrificed a huge pick there. It's never an easy thing to give up a level 3 Poseidon just for a speed buff this early on. Definitely not worth it.
Truancy just not in the right position there, and so many relics used on the side of Saving Private Checo. You saw his purification be used earlier on, as well as the purification from Joey Donuts on this Ratatosker jungle. That's going to mean that these roots into the pull from Forger Vulcan are going to be guaranteed. The knockups afterwards, plus the roots from Scylla, just a lot of long-range CC on the side of Checo as a New Black as well. We talked about the lockdown for Saving Private Checo, but on the other side, the New Black has plenty of their own.
And that should allow, potentially, the Scylla to hit level 5 before the Poseidon off of that one pick. They're going to be able to find the experience necessary in those mid waves, as long as he's going to be able to share it accordingly. And that I'm a monster can make a huge impact. The question is, who's going to pull the trigger first on which support? We see Joltak at level 2 with the Reinforced Greaves, level 3 Reinforced Greaves on the side of Forger Vulcan, though.
But Forger Vulcan still has that shell available, whereas it's about another minute until the shell from Joltak is going to be back up off cooldown. On the left-hand side, you see Zaxi doing exactly what the game plan is, pushing Freya underneath the tower here, actually zoning him from part of this wave, and that's why you see Forger Vulcan head on over. This is exactly what you were saying, Toli. You expect to see Sylvanas in this lane, making sure Freya stays safe.
Very risky build to go into the shoes of focus for this Freya right off the bat, especially against an Uller, who is always going to be looking to poke you out. That doesn't give you many sustain options, considering you don't have enough gold left over to be able to get the health or mana pots you really need in that laning phase.
And that's why you see that heal coming in from Forger Vulcan, but even still, Keji forced to back. Up into the sky goes Joey Donuts, looking for something in the middle lane. Doesn't find it, so he comes right back down. No engagement there, but the engagement's going to happen. It looks like potentially 13 and Bless was looking for it, but only level 3. Not trying to be aggressive when he's that low of a level. 2 levels down from Joey Donut.
Slightly mistimed ultimate from Joey Donut, thinking that the speed buff would respawn a little bit faster than it actually was. Normally speed buffs will respawn around 320 or so. Is that when it respawns by the right-hand side? Without that ultimate, still going to make his way forcing out the ultimate from Chalk. They need to commit a little harder, and there's no rotations on the side of Checo's the new black.
Oh, Nickwood actually plays himself there, comes back into lane. He was out, he was gone. No ultimate from Joey Donuts meant that he could run away just fine. Instead, Torrent's back into the lane. Another kill, the first kill rather, for Saving Private Checo goes the way of Joey Donuts. Now the speed buff has respawned, and with that kill on the solo lane side, there's no worse time to fall than right before your buff spawn. And Zaxi, he's here to defend this Gold Fury from any sort of quick attempt from Checo's the new black, but they just don't have the damage, especially with 13 and Blessed being only level 4.
Second speed buff being stripped away from this Mercury is going to hurt 13 and Blessed just ever so slightly again and again. He cannot afford to lose these speed buffs consecutively. Now, despite himself having the Traveler shoes to be able to have the mobility still, it would definitely help if he could catch the Ratatasker anytime out of position. So without the Soul Laner there to confirm the speed buff, without the Wrath, that was an easy invade, taking a small objective after the pick. And this is what teams need to do to be able to start winning games. Looking for the small plays after the already little ones.
And you can see the 500 gold lead starting to develop in the jungle for Saving Private Checo. It's going to be Joey Donut up about 500 gold on 13 and Blessed. They do secure their own blue buff, do Checo's the new black, as well as those right-hand Harpies. Speed buff still waiting to respawn after the steal from Saving Private Checo, but a 3-man split on back Harpies. I feel like they need to allow 13 and Blessed to get a little bit more solo farm in these sort of scenarios.
Especially it's considering it's a Mercury. Mercury needs to get to the mid to lake and needs to be able to get his crit online to be able to start 2 to 3 shotting people. Cannot allow this Uller to continuously bully out KG here. We see there's about a 2-level or 1-level disparity right now. Fatalis still not finished for KG. So moving forward into the 6-minute mark, there's going to be more action in mid, though.
Kraken gonna find Forger Vulcan. He's gonna fall. 2-man Sonic Boom finds a home, as well as a nice crouch from Mr. Teep. I'm a Monster gonna do a decent amount of damage to Joltak, but not quite enough. The support for Checo as the new black falls. Stormy Rays, he might be next on the list. That ultimate not gonna heal him in time. Mr. Teep responds. Support for Solo Laner. That's in favor of Checo as the new black.
Absolutely. Stormy Ray's falling, surprisingly, considering he didn't use his ultimate right away once he got around that corner. There's a 4-second window between when you activate that ultimate and whenever you receive that healing. So everybody was able to blow their abilities onto that out-of-position Soul Laner. It was a well-timed disruption from Nickwood, finding that silence to prevent the escape as well. So everybody playing solidly as we head into the 7-minute mark here. Very even game.
Zaxi again on this left-hand side is boxing out with Keji. You can see the rotation coming through the jungle. He's got to be careful of that, but it looks like it is just Forger Vulcan, just here to heal his Hunter player. This is exactly what you want Zaxi to do with this matchup. He hasn't found the solo kill quite yet, but he has been bullying Keji consistently, and because of his superior lane clear, he's also up about 300 gold.
That's all he needs to do to be able to get an experienced lead. He has to share the farm, the Freya, with the Sylvanas because he needs the sustain options. Just now finishing off the Fatalis, Zaxi still going to be looking to make some bully options with this Uller, surprisingly electing to go for Warrior Tabby before the Transcendence. So not going to have the MP5 that he really wants quite yet, and he might have missed an opportunity potentially to continuously find those hail of arrows for poke.
And right now, 7.5 minutes in, 2-2 read the kills, basically even in all aspects of this game. Totally, this is a one game. This is a best of one.
Yes.
One game only to determine who's going on to these relegations. So any mistake could prove fatal. I mean, this could be the start of a great spring split for one of these teams, or a long wait until they can get back into the SCL. We saw one Challenger Cup team from last split move on to the World Championships. That was Aware Gaming. They came out of the Challenger Cup, made it all the way to the top 4 last year. So these teams, they know what's at stake here.
You never know. There could be another Cinderella story for one of these Checo squads. As we see here, the speed buff is going to be taken yet again from Joey Donut. That's the 3rd speed buff that was stripped away from 13 and Blessed yet again. That's so problematic here because he's only level 8 at this point, whereas level 10, on the side of the Ratatasker.
And we checked in earlier, it was a 500 gold lead. Now it's extended up to about 600 in that jungle. Overall, the gold difference not very big one way or the other. 300, not a big deal whatsoever. On the right-hand side, not a big deal for Nikwid. He's got a bunch of protections and a bunch of help coming in. Two-man Sonic Boom, but 13 and Blessed not able to find the special delivery afterward. Just a little bit too far. It's one of the harder parts about playing Mercury is getting that spacing on Sonic Boom correct.
The timing of the Sonic Boom was just perfect, but because of that timing, the distance was just a little bit too much. He did force out the purification from the Ratatasker, so overall successful gank. It also alleviates a lot of pressure from the Chalk to still free farm and not have to take those boxing scenarios against Erlang Shen. This is why Chalk was even picked in the first place. You can clear very safely from far away. You don't have to be in melee range as Stormy Rays does, where if he wants to use his Death's Toll to be able to proc multiple hits, get more sustain with those AoE in-hands.
And Nikwid's going to have to be the one sitting on this Poseidon as they transition into the mid game. Whenever those rotations start happening, you can see the Cripple's going to do work against multiple members of Checo as the new Black. It's going to hurt the Scylla, it's going to hurt the Mercury, as well as the Slow, going to hurt on that Sylvanas. Stormy Rays taking a bit of hurt on this right-hand side.
Wrath.
Uses the Wrath to make sure that Axe wasn't coming to pick up that solo kill.
That Wrath could have also been delayed a little bit further just to bait out Nikwid into that tier 1 tower, potentially even finding a return kill, but instead rather taking that risk, playing it super safe.
Blocks off two there for Vulcan. He's going to eat the Kraken. Perfect wall there from Joltak, and he's rewarded with the kill. His first of the game. 1-0-1 for the support Ymir. Truancy again, the pathing, a little bit suspect in the middle lane. Almost gets the solo kill there, does Mr. Teep. Instead, Truancy, he's going to have to back after that.
This is the 3v3 composition that was drafted by Saving Private Checo, just working beautifully. They found the easy pick onto Forger Vulcan Sylvanas, the freeze into the Whirlpool Kraken, nowhere to go. Barely able to escape that 1v1 situation from the Scylla. Have to respect the damage coming out of the little girl.
The Whoop, nice wall though, saves Joey Donut from the damage from 13 and Blessed. Just up into the sky to avoid that Sonic Boom, but Joltak can't avoid it as Nikwid comes in and helps his jungler pick up the enemy support. Now a 4v5 Gold Fury being looked at. It's actually a 5v3 as Stormy Rays, he's still in the solo lane, no teleport. He's not coming here. Gold Fury, that goes the way of Checo's the new Black. Purification and dash just in time to save his own life. Very, very close there for 13 and Blessed.
Surprised that Checo is the new Black. Took so long to be able to start that Gold Fury compared to the last two games. And now Joey Donut out of position. Nikwid making the kill with the axe, finding another one for himself. Just doing a great job with the rotation. Granted, he sacrificed a tier 1 tower for this play, but not only did he find the kill, he helped his team secure that so important 11-minute Gold Fury.
Zaxi and Keji fighting on this left-hand side. You can see the boxing potential there. Zaxi still has the jump, baits out the Valkyrie's discretion, and he's out of there. Had both relics available as well, whereas Keji, he didn't have his beads. Going back to that Gold Fury engagement, Tully, Truancy gets poked out in the middle lane, forced to back, and then the red buff invade happens for Saving Private Checo, and that's kind of where it all fell apart. Do you think that that red buff invade was the right call in that situation?
I think that they wanted to play it so safe that they weren't even considering the fact that by putting themselves that far out of position that they're exposing themselves upon the goal here. Truancy, like you mentioned, just took too much poke earlier on from Scylla and didn't respect the fact that he could have even died from Mama Monster had that connected. So that was a great play overall from Checo as a new Black. Now, granted, it was a little bit of a slower goal here than the last two games, going from 7 minutes to 11 minutes, but it's a step in the right direction. They're now able to really stabilize in this game despite how far behind this Mercury and Sylvanas is.
I mean, in the later stage of the game, I think the draft heavily goes in Checo's the new Black's favor. I mean, a lot of the pressure that you see for Saving Private Checo right now is in the early game. It's Zaxi on this Uller, it's Ymir in the support, and meanwhile, Zaxi not able to find that damage there, but the knockup is good. Keji, he's gonna fall here, 2v1. Joey Donuts, the well-timed ganks, as well as the extra damage coming in from Zaxi. And Zaxi's, in my mind, has played this lane very, very well.
And now Stormy Rays making a rotation in the mid lane, finding themselves in a position to maybe start sieging, finding the pull into the knockup. I'm a monster trying to connect onto Joltek, but not pulling the trigger. What is going on?
Mr. Teep's just got to trust that that CC is going to last long enough and understand that he can position that I'm a monster well. That was the perfect play there from Forger Vulcan. Not a perfect play on the left-hand side as 13 and Blessed just eats an axe.
Blessed went in just to be able to mage you look on the archers, trying to find a little bit of farm, making sure that there's going to be less minions to tank that tower to save the tier 1 tower, but didn't respect the fact that he was going to get multi-stunned. He didn't even dash away from danger.
Zaxi is huge right now, level 15, top of the game in terms of net worth, getting the red buff now. He's got a ton of power as well with this Transcendence, almost fully stacked, sitting at 47 right now on that Transcendence. So plenty of mana, plenty of MP5, able to use those skills like you were talking about earlier, and just the overall base damage so strong at this stage in particular for Ullr.
And the player damage on his side, third in the game. First one is going to be Joey Donut on this Ratatasker, who's just been all over the place, sitting at 2, 1, and 2, almost 100% kill participation. And this is something that you're really going to need out of your Ratatasker in the earlier stages of the game, trying to make sure you shut down the Freya, you shut down the Mercury, you don't let those two characters get into the late game.
Not whatsoever. And that, like we were talking about, the late game potential for Checo as the new black is sky high. I mean, you've got Freya, you've got Mercury, you've got Scylla, you've got late game sustain from the Sylvanas. You got plenty going for you, but the problem is you got to get there. Sitting right now just under the 15-minute mark, 5-4 in favor of the kills, going the way of Saving Private Checo. Gold lead right around even, only about 400 gold, but this is a best of one. The winner of this game moves on to relegations to fight for their spot in the Spring Split SCL.
It's going to be against Elevate, Kingdom, and My Guys, so it's going to be a very challenging relegations no matter who comes out on top of this one, which is why heading into the 15-minute mark, both of these teams are going to be playing very carefully. Doesn't want to expose anything too much to the opposition, especially considering that Golfier is about to respawn in 38 seconds. So teams are going to start jostling for some position, trying to get the wards around that important objectives and look for the picks. Obviously, Saving Private Checo, they want to find the perfect Ymir walls, whereas Checo is the new black. They want to find the root pulls and set up this Scylla.
I think the real key for Saving Private Checo here is getting Zaxi into these team fights. He's done his job. He's gotten into the lane. He's bullied out the Freya, but it's time for him to come in and make the impact. Level 17 right now, significantly above anyone else on Checo as the new black. He's got to come into these fights and try and make a push in the middle lane.
3 levels ahead of his opposition. He has the Aussie complete after the Transcendence, so he's going to have a little bit of life steal and the attack speed, especially if he's going to stay in that axe stance, which is going to give him even more additional life stance. So if there's ever an opportunity for Nikwit to chase him into that back line, that double sustain is going to keep Zaxi topped off whenever necessary.
This is the perfect time. Gold Fury has respawned. Axe on point onto Forger Vulcan, a little bit of poke, but due to the wisps, that's not going to be completely relevant. On the right-hand side, you can see Stormy Rays already started to make that rotation over. Keji here, Keji's going to do the damage to Joey Donuts. The perfectly timed ultimate gets him out of the freeze, but the dash is good to make sure Joey Donuts is safe for now. You can see that even when Freya's down, she's never out, always bringing those damage.
The team fight, the little 1v1 boxing skirmish actually just turned on its head there. The Pulsey Radiate combination, even though there's a level disparity between the two hunters, if you're a squishy Ratatasker, you're going to get absolutely destroyed by this Fatalis demonic grip opportunity that the Freya basically is just built into this game.
Very much so, and even though there's a level disparity in the hunters, the level disparity's in Keji's favor between the hunter and the jungle. Stormy Rays going in the middle lane. Zaxi, he's brawling all by himself. They're 1v4. Stormy Rays is going down. He's going fast. He's going to be knocked up, whooped, eaten, gobbled up by I'm a Monster. 3 people hit there by Mr. Teep on the reset. Joltak's going to fall as well. 2 for 0 in favor of Checo as the new black, and they've got plenty of sustain to keep up healthy in this fight.
That's their win game condition. It's just set up the Ama Monsters, get the resets for Mr. Teep. He found a triple hit on his second strike, and that's what allowed them to find those 2 picks, find the tier 1 tower, now starting to rotate for this Golfier. They were behind a little bit of experience, but after this team fight, now they're going to start being in the lead.
Mr. Teep, he's 4-0 right now. He's got 2/3 of the kills for Checo as the new black and has been positioning extremely well all game, and it finally pays off for the mid laner. Now 1,600 gold in the lead. The 17-minute Gold Fury, second of the game, goes to Checo is the new black, and this is concerning because we've been talking about it this whole time, Toli. The late game prowess of this composition is incredibly high, and if you're down at this stage, it's going to be very, very difficult to survive as they get more and more items going.
There's Freya, Mercury, Scylla. those 3 late game guys. Now, you look on the other side of things, there's a Poseidon.
Sure.
And that's it. I guess, like, yeah, Ratatasker can still do a lot, but it makes it a lot more difficult to be able to dive that backline whenever you're dealing with those 3 hyper carries on the side of Checo as the new black. So it's all about setting up these mid laners. Truancy needs to get the perfect Krakens, and Mr. Teep needs to get the perfect Umba monsters.
Interesting to see what build Zaxi is going to go for here on this Ullr. We could see him try and be that late game monster. He could go into the traditional hunter sort of build, but with the Transcendence and Aussie, you really expect him to go for a more penetration style, trying to get the damage abilities to really be the bulk of his damage.
Considering the fact that it's a relatively squishy front line, it's only a Chalk and a Sylvanas in the front line. It's going to be a very squishy Mercury, so you don't really have to go for chin size here. More than likely going to be that Executioner, granting more attack speed, but now left-hand side, it's actually going to get pulled under the wall.
He doesn't have any relics at all. Whooped. He's going to, try to get over the wall, but just couldn't do it. 13 and Blessed, able to pick up his first kill of the game, courtesy of a big crit from that Wind Demon as well. Zaxi, he's been the aggressor in that lane this entire time, but without the wards and without the relics, just not in the right spot.
Taking full advantage of those 2 sentry wards as Checo is the new black. 1 on the gold here, 1 in between the red and the Boris. So that means that there's no vision from Zaxi to spot out that rotation. And normally, whenever Gold Fury is down, you'll see action on the right-hand side of the map. So Zaxi kind of got tricked into the fact that there was going to be a rotation from the Mercury.
Here comes the Ratatasker ultimate, gonna find 2 there. Mr. T forcing the Sanctuary, but finds the nice route. He's up into I'm a Monster. He's looking to get away. He's looking to fight. Finds 2. No reset. Doesn't matter. Stormy Rays eats his 3rd death of the game. Kraken completely in a different area code than the rest of Checo's the new black. Not going to find a home there for Truancy, who just hasn't had the impact that you want out of your mid laner in this game. 1-for-0. Checo's the new black, sieging down this right-hand tower.
13 and Blessed made a great rotation with his Sonic Boom, able to synergize so beautifully in that team fight. Now Joltak is going to take a spill as he was isolated from the rest of his team. With those 2 members dead from Saving Private Checo, a tier 1 tower gone in the solo lane, and it seems that Checo's the new black, they're not done yet. They want to go for this tier 2.
Zaxi is here. He does have both of his relics. Forger Vulcan tries to pull the rock, but that's not moving out of that wall. 13 and Blessed, he's going in on Truancy. 1 more hit, but he's not going to be able to find it. Love the storm call from Nickwood, trying to keep his jungler safe. It's going to be Joey Donuts coming in, trying to pick up his opposition. Sanctuary buys Joey Donuts a bit of time. The whoop directly into the damage. Dart is going to save his life for now. He's not going to go in, is he?
He wants to find a kill onto the Mercury. He's not able to connect. Going to dash away from that one. And now it's going to be another kill. Oh, no.
So much damage there. The Whirlpool Tidal Wave combination is good. Nickwood very, very slow. Zaxi finally able to pick up an engagement or a kill in this engagement in Saving Private Checo's favor, but still multiple members down so far.
Sylvanas going to find a knockup onto Zaxi. Meanwhile, Speedbuff is going to be stripped away. The Kraken is going to finally find its target. Mr. Teep is going to be the victim. The wall doing a good job. Fortune Vulcan have to reroute around that corner. Sonic Boom going to get charged up, but with the Speedbuff finally for Mercury, he should be out of danger. He has the mobility with the Traveler Shoes, and top of that, he has Heartseeker.
Zaxi and Stormy Rays still looking for the kills here, trying to find anything to push the game back into their favor. All of a sudden, Checo and the new black in a great spot to move on to relegations. They're only up 3 kills. They're up a significant amount of gold, right around 5,000 overall for them, 4,500 basically. The experience difference still not big, but the gold lead is where it's at.
And it's only going to get worse and worse as the late game combines. Zaxi going to get pulled in, but it's actually Ketchy that's in a little bit of trouble. Sonic Boom going to find 2 targets around the corner. Truancy nowhere to go. Joltak took a very risky route, trying to go through that mid-tier 1 tower, thinking that everybody from Checo's the new black was going to retreat.
Stormy Rays, he's going to try and back up there. Kedji's going to be the one to back up. He's going to fall. Joey Donuts finds the kill. Storm Call finishes off the enemy jungler. 1-for-1 so far. 2-for-1 actually in favor of Checo as the new black. And Truancy again just gets baited into that sort of narrow corridor and it's been in the late game. 13 and Blessed did not have a good start to this game.
No,
totally.
not at all.
But
not at all.
In the late game, he's doing exactly what he needs to do, finding the damage with those crits from a distance with Made You Look, as well as getting into the face of the enemy.
Just well-timed sonic booms from 13 and Blessed. He's positioned himself so far, the last 2 engagements, around that tier 1 solo tower, saving Mr. Teep's life in the process, waiting yet again. That was actually Kedge that was in trouble in that last engagement, finding the dissection between that speed buff into that right side mid-harpies right above it. And this is something you really need out of your jungler. We even saw the fact that the Ratatasker was so aggressive, wanting to find the return kill, sacrificing his own life in the process. You have to be making these aggressive plays, but they have to be calculated. Like, if you're going to give up your own life in the process, you need to get something in return. And
there's just been not enough objective push on the side of Saving Private Checo, despite having that Uller that was pretty far ahead in the early mid game. They didn't find any Gold Furies. Both have gone the way of Saving Private Checo. I don't think they've gotten a whole lot of towers as well, so you can see that the overall objective game has been stronger from Saving Private Checo, or excuse me, Checo as the new black. It's been a Checo either way.
It's just a Checo day.
It's all Checo all the time right here, and we can get right back into the game after this pause. Gold Fury was being started up when we left off by Zaxi, and it is going to go their way. So as I was saying, their objective game hasn't been strong. Saving Private Checo, make me eat my words a little bit. Getting Gold Fury in their favor, pushing that gold lead below 3,000.
Without Kenji being alive, there was a very easy opportunity for Zaxi, especially with the red buff as a level 20 Uller, to find a little bit of a downtime in this game, as Fire Giant is definitely an easy point of contention heading into the 24-minute mark, squeezing in the first gold Fury of the game for Saving Private Checo.
And it was at a good time too. They needed to have something go in their favor, and that's exactly what they got. 12-8, read the kills for Checo as the new black. If you're just joining us, this is a best-of-1 tiebreaker for relegations coming out of the open bracket. Remember, North America's open bracket is now done. They only had 2 weeks. Europe, they've still got 3 weeks remaining, but this is it. This is the game to determine who's going to be the team joining my guys out of the open brackets in North America.
And what better 2 teams in this tiebreaker than Saving Private Checo against Checo is the new black? It's going to be, who is the better Checo?
Who's the better Checo? And I wonder what Checo thinks when he just hears his name being called all the time. You know, it's like, man, I really want to get my name called in these broadcasts. And he got it. He's not playing right now, but he got it.
Nah, gonna find a double stun onto Nick. We're taking a lot of poke, having to go into his own ultimate. Sonic Boom gonna cut and dissect through it, but now having to chase down Truancy in the sky, trying to find the knock up. The Kraken being negated by the Sanctuary. Nice little double, but Niquid, he wants to dive that tier 2.
Truancy is gonna be able to survive. I'm a Monster not gonna find a mark. Zaxi picks up Niquid, 13 and Blessed, able to respond with the kill on Ymir. Zaxi chasing him down into the jungle. Axe off the mark. He's got to be careful here. Actually jumps in to the 213 and Blessed. They're boxing it out in the jungle. They trade out 1 for 1. Mr. Teep avenges his jungler.
So overall, it's going to be a 2 for 2. And with a Sylvanas sustain, Checo is the new black. They're not done yet. They want to find this tier 2 in the mid lane. They don't have too much damage without a physical hunter, but it's a level 20 Scylla. Those in hands, especially with a fully stacked Doom Orb, will melt towers.
The double Obsidian chart here pick up for Checo as the new black, and you usually don't like to see it as far as both mage players picking up the same penetration item, but in terms of tower push, that's exactly what they needed, and because of that, the tier 2 tower in middle falls. Stormy Rays here, just trying to do anything to keep Saving Private Checo in these engagements, and this Erlang Shen just hasn't been the impact that we're used to seeing out of Stormy Rays. A veteran player now back in solo lane after playing Hunter last season for Soar, just hasn't looked like himself this game.
It was very difficult to find any advantages against Niquid, just able to farm efficiently. Now starting up the Fire Giant, Saving Private Checo, they have to turn onto Forge of Vulcan. It is a bait though, because Niquid is right around the corner with the Wrath if he wants to use it.
Uh-oh, Keji's here though, and he's gonna do a lot of damage. Stormy Rays, sprint is popped, just trying to get him out of danger. Meanwhile, Joey Donut up in the tree, zoning away the enemy team. Sonic Boom is charged and ready to go, but not gonna pull the trigger. 13 and Blessed decides to just hold on to that for now. And so I like the call there from Saving Private Checo, totally. Just pulling the Fire Giant, never with the intention of doing it, just trying to get a kill. kill onto the support.
That's the key to team success. You have to be knowing when to drop an objective and when to pull it. And overall, finding a kill onto Forger Vulcan now is going to allow Saving Private Checo to continue aggressing in a 5v4 advantage. They can get some towers of their own because they don't have any of themselves a tower on the mid or the right-hand side. If they can strip away some towers, they can get back into the game a little bit and then look for some more plays and try to match the late game prowess that Checo is the new black has.
I mean, look at all the gold that's sitting on the map waiting to be taken for Saving Private Checo. Checo's the new black. They've already taken down almost every tower. The only remaining are both in the duo lane, and you've got 4 still standing that Saving Private Checo have to worry about taking down, but they don't take any advantage of that 5v4 opportunity. It's all back and even now. 13 and Blessed. He's running away from Joey Donuts, who's up in the sky. Another wasted ultimate for the jungler.
It seems that Joey Donut really likes to go up in the sky, just jumping from branch to branch, trying to look for a pick, but you gotta be very patient. Sometimes you want to use that defensively, not always to put pressure on your opposition, because you have Joltak that has the Ymir walls, and there's so many good targets for him to be able to wall off Forger, Vulcan, Nequid on the Chalk, KG on the Freya, which will force the Valkyrie's discretion. If Bless gets caught in that, then he has nowhere to go either.
That's exactly right, and we've seen those Ymir walls from Joltak be a big impact in the middle stages of the game, but since we've gotten to the mid-late game, we're starting to get towards that late game, we haven't really seen it from him quite yet. 28 minutes in, about 5,000 gold in the lead for Checo as the new black. We've been dancing on the Fire Giant for the last few minutes, and nothing's really happening right now. Gold Fury is about to respawn on the left side, so we could see a little bit of a skirmish over that, Tolly.
That could definitely be the case. We saw Zaxi sneaking away a Gold Fury with a red buff earlier on, and this could be a similar story, especially considering with how much action has been on the right-hand side. But if you're on the left side getting the Gold Fury and you're leaving Keishi to stay in this team fight as a Freya at level 20, that's not something you really want to happen.
No, not at all, but you could see a very distinct lack of ward coverage on the left-hand side, so we could see Zaxi try and go over there and sneak it away, and that's one of the advantages that Saving Private Checo have, is that Checo's the new black don't really have that option to sneak it away. Freya can do a lot of damage to an objective, but she doesn't have that ability to pull and solo an objective quite like a Hunter does.
Definitely not the same amount of lifesteal as the Uller has at this point. Right. Sitting in the axe stance, sitting with the Aussie gives him so much sustain. Definitely has the burst, but after the Gold Fury is done, she'll be sitting at about 50% health or so, and if she's getting caught out of position, then that's going to be problematic.
Absolutely. Keji been a big reason why Checo's the new black has been so successful in this game, as has Mr. Teep. You got to give a lot of credit to the mid laner. He's been on point with these I'm a Monsters, as well as his positioning. When you're going for a Doom Orb, you got to be very careful with where you are on the map. And I think he only has 1 death to this point.
Confidence from Mr. Teep. Despite himself not finding too many I'm a Monsters in the previous set against my guys, the tier and stuff like that, just not able to really connect onto it. But overall, I'm sorry, that was actually Covey that was playing the Scylla.
That's true. That's true.
I got confused a little bit there. But either way, Mr. Teep,
it all happens.
You know, you find a great Toth player that goes into a Scylla, is just like,
man,
why though?
Why though? He's a Toth guy. Stick with the Toth guy. But we're in a Checo guy sort of matchup here. Saving Private Checo versus Checo as the new black. 28 minutes in, almost to that 29-minute mark. Like we mentioned, Gold Fury has respawned, but the dance continues on this right-hand side. Ward coverage looks like it favors Checo as the new black. Forger Vulcan gonna use the ultimate, finds 2 with a knock-up. Joey Donuts forced Sanctuary right away. I'm a Monster, not gonna be able to find it. It's Joey Donuts here, looking for anything for Mr. Teep, not gonna find it.
The pull back onto Stormy Rays, no follow-up. Every cooldown was used. Taking a lot of poke was Forge of Vulcan. Now Nequid gonna disrupt and force the Sanctuary out of Zaxi. Sitting in the Yak stance, wants to get some lifesteal, but doesn't want to get too close to the action. Sonic Boom going into the backline. Zaxi has to run away as the Ratatasker lands on down.
Joey Donuts has that ultimate again, and he's coming crashing down. Kraken gonna find 2, but not enough to secure a kill quite yet. Keji, he's playing the frontliner right now on that Freya, but it doesn't matter. Just able to zone away with damage. I think almost every ultimate was used there, Totally, but no kills yet.
Bless out of position, taking the blue buff this late in the game. Not worth it, but he bought enough time and baited himself out, because it's actually Joey Donut who's in a little bit of trouble. Maybe one more axe could find the kill. It's not going to connect.
Truancy helping out his teammate there, putting down that whirlpool, making sure that Chalk wasn't going to be able to take that one step he needed needed to find that axe. So again, a lot of abilities, a lot of ultimates, no kills.
That was a gem of isolation whirlpool to boot, so slowing down Chalk in the process, making it harder to find that axe, barely saving Joey Donut. So much risky plays coming out of both teams heading into the 30-minute mark. That blue buff is never worth it at that point.
No, it feels great taking away an enemy buff, but not at 30 minutes. It's not a big deal. It almost cost Checo's New Black dearly there. But we saw earlier on, Mr. Teep on the Scylla had an opportunity to use I'm a Monster under the tier 1 tower, waited too long. This time, pulls the trigger way too early on that ultimate.
Definitely wanted to try to find the kill through those mid harpies, but without any vision, didn't really want to commit to it. And then it just seemed like every single player separated like the Red Sea away from I'm a Monster, which is what you definitely want to do. And now, Joey Donut trying to escape after doing a little bit of poke.
Wrath of Terra on cooldown for Forge of Vulcan. Here's I'm a Monster yet again, looking to find a target. Stormy Rays is going to eat a big chunk of damage, but he has that heal on him. He's getting very, very low, but meanwhile, 13 and Blessed, he went in the middle lane. Truancy's going to be able to pick him up. Joey Donuts comes crashing down onto Mr. Teep, forcing out that Sanctuary. Stormy Rays is eventually going to fall, courtesy of Keji. First kill for the Hunter for Checo as a New Black at 31 minutes into the game, but again, just so even between these two, 1 for 1.
Joltek, though, he was in the red. He's forced to go back into Fountain just to sustain. Zaxi goes into his back Harpies to sustain with his Axe Stance and Aussie combination. So it's going to be a 4-on-3 for a little bit as Ymir is coming back from the base. Not recognizing this, though, is Checo is the New Black. They have the ward vision control that they need, but not necessarily in that Fire Giant pit to start it up.
Zaxi gonna take a trip back to the base, maybe able to finish off that Wind Demon. That's exactly what he's gonna do. Only one crit item though, Tully, so he's gotta really rely on getting those lucky rolls with RNG to get those crits going. I think I'd like to see him head over. This is the perfect time to try and sneak away that Gold Fury.
It's very possible, but diving the backline is Joey Donut, forcing the Sentinel out of Mr. Teep, not really wanting to commit too hard to that. And with this Wind Demon, like you mentioned, being picked up here for Zaxi, he's very mobile with a Fatalis of his own. He wants to be able to try to kite Nikwit for as long as possible, and to counteract that, Nikwit actually went for the Mergardian Mail, trying to slow down Zaxi, his movement speed and that attack speed.
I like that pickup from Nikwit for the exact reasons that you just mentioned. Remember, this is still Season 3, so Fatalis does not have that penetration. It is exclusively for the attack speed, the movement speed, and the passive that it's providing to you. Trying to make sure that Zaxi can keep up with that movement speed and sort of maneuverability that Freya really has with that item pickup.
Both teams still grouping up around the Fire Giant, 33 minutes in. Joltek not wanting to commit with a wall onto Nikwit quite yet, despite the Axe being on cooldown. Without that escape option, that could be a good opportunity for Zaxi just to find the poke from a distance with the Axe, the hail of arrows, and everything else on top of that if his mid laner was around the corner.
So Totally, we've been dancing around this Fire Giant for roughly 6.5 minutes now. I mean, this has been just a continual back and forth of poke, of ultimates, of whatever, with very few kills. What do you do in this situation? What's it like when you've been staring at the opposition at the same part of the map for the last 6+ minutes?
Well, we see Joey Donuts on the left-hand side. He's trying to split push that tier 2 tower, which is a good opportunity for him to maybe get some more gold under his team's pocket. But if he's that far out of position, that's going to make it so much easier for the New Black to be able to start the Fire Giant in a 5-on-4, or at least bait it out long enough to get an early pick. So that way, even if Joey Donut makes that rotation, it's going to be too late.
They've got to try and do it, but Joey Donuts is the right call to try and split push that. They need the front line from Stormy Rays to be there, and with that semi-global from Ratatosker, I mean, we've seen Joey Donuts got no problem just going up there and hopping around those branches. He's going to have to get over there very, very quickly, like you mentioned. We're sitting right around 33 minutes right now in game, and remember, this is a best of 1. The winner of this game moves on to relegations to join my guys out of the open bracket and face off to try and get into the SCL. We're about ready to get back into game here. As you mentioned, totally on the left-hand side, Joey Donuts, he's trying to split push it down, but there's a rotation here. He's going to try and get this tower, but he's going to cost him his life, I think.
Oh, no. He barely gets away
out
from Valkyrie's discretion. There was one missed in here coming out of Keji. Now this is going to force the team fight from Saving Private Checo, trying to take advantage of just how overcommitted both the Freya and Mercury were to defending that tier 2's tower push.
freeze onto Niquid as well as the pin, but not quite enough damage quite at all whatsoever. He's so tanky at this stage of the game. All 6 items completed. Almost everyone's got all 6 items completed. Mr. Teep just trying to finish off what looks to be a Polynomicon, but Niquid, he's going in right now, trying to create a zone for his team to push up. 13 and Blessed charging that Sonic Boom, primed and ready to go, but because of that wall, not going to have the angle to get into the team fight.
That would have been a nice opportunity, but like we mentioned before, Joltek has just been on point with these walls. Both junglers looking for the right opportunity to find a flank on the side if they can. We saw 13 and Blessed looking for the major looks, as well as Joey Donut coming from behind, but didn't really want to put pressure quite yet because his teammates had to retreat under that tier 2 tower instead.
Oh, Joltek gets pulled in and he walled himself off right before he got pulled. He's gonna fall. Kenji able to pick him up on the left-hand side. The boxing match, Joey Donuts takes down the late game Mercury 1-for-1. Now Stormy Rays, he's gonna have to find the knockup. 2-man Kraken, but not enough damage. Joey Donuts falls in the middle lane to Kenji as well. 2-for-1 in favor of Checo's the new black.
And they can chase this down. Zaxi has the Fatalis, he has the movement speed steroid, but it's going to be Stormy Rays getting zoned away from Kenji. Instead, Zaxi finally finding the kill onto Vulcan. Stormy Rays trying to distract Freya. He wants to keep his Uller up alive, but he might have sacrificed his own life if he finds some in here. It's great route into the cripple. Valkyrie's discretion. Going to chase away Zaxi. Overall, though, 3-for-2.
Wow, what an unbelievable fight there. In Joltek, we've been praising his walls all game, but he actually played himself there. He throws it up immediately into the pool. You got to give credit to Forger Vulcan there on that Sylvanas, getting that started off in the right foot. But then on the left-hand side of that jungle, you don't expect Mercury to lose a boxing fight against a Ratatosker 35 minutes in. How does that happen?
It just didn't seem that the respect was there. The Sanctuary wasn't used from Mercury to be able to survive, and neither Relic was even used on the side of Joey Donut. He knew he had the damage. He found the stun necessary. The difference of the Purification leads me to believe that that wasn't even available during that stun. So that is a huge advantage, especially considering the fact that there is a little bit of physical defense on the side of Ratatosker. You're looking at the Mercury build. He's pure offense.
He does have the penetration, though, to punch through that Void Shield, as well as the extra protections from that cloak getting started off. But Joey Donut just making a play. That's what you got to do when you're in a best-of-1 sort of scenario. You just got to be a playmaker and try and make it happen. Now it's 13 and Blessed, trying to be the split pusher on the left-hand side, taking a page out of Joey Donut's book, but he's here, and after you lose that last 1v1, I don't know if he's going to want to take another.
No, not at all, but it's going to be a 4-on-4 around the Fireshine. Nice little wall. Going to find the freeze onto Forger Vulcan. A little bit of poke. It's going to get negated once those wisps come out. Not going to be too big of an issue. The rest of the teams, though, trying to jog for position. We see the rotation in the mid lane, though. Mercury is in position to look for the Sonic Boom underneath, whereas the Ratatosker back to base, so he's going to be looking for a global of his own.
Joltek, he's in a weird spot, but Niquid, he's going to get pulled in from that Gem of Isolation Whirlpool Truancy. He's got that Rod of Tahuti completed. Last fight, he did not. Only the Lost Artifacts. That's a big power spike for him in that middle lane. Lots of damage onto Stormy Rays, forces out the heal ultimate, but it is going to save his life for now.
No taunt available from Stormy Rays. Gives a huge advantage for Checo is the new black, as the team fight's going to continue around the Fire Giant. Going to get pulled, and this time it's going to go down very quickly. Keshi, this is the late game form from Freya. This Fire Giant is gone.
Finally, the Fire Giant gets taken 10 minutes after the dance started, but the fight isn't over quite yet. Storm Call on to Joltek. Joey Donuts, he's in the back line. Sonic Boom puts 13 and Blessed way out of here, but Zaxi gonna find Forger Vulcan.
It's gonna be a 2-for-1 so far, but not done yet. The Fire Giant squad from Checo's the new black find a third one onto Joey Donut. Truancy makes the fourth victim. Only Zaxi left alive in the mid lane to hold off 4 members. This is not looking good for Saving Private Checo.
This could be the game, Tolly. They don't have a lot of objective damage with the Freya, but as long as 13 and Blessed is there, they should be able to shred these Phoenixes very, very well with that Titan's Bane. But 13 and Blessed is split pushing down the right-hand side. 2 different calls happening.
And it's only Zaxi, though, trying to defend against 3, but now Mercury makes his rotation. Not going to find the pull, going to force out the jump, and now Niquid leading the charge, going to pull out the Titan one-on-one boxing match. Kenji puts Zaxi in his place, and this is going to be game.
Checo is the new black. Congratulations to them. They're going to be moving on out of the open bracket. They're joining my guys, trying to make their name